Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
The museum should have felt quiet at closing time. Instead, it felt like it was holding its breath. Marcus Vail noticed at the moment he slipped past the authorized personnel only sign and into the restricted wing. The usual hum of air vents, distant footsteps, the faint echo of voices, all of it faded behind him as if he'd stepped into a vacuum. "Okay," Lena whispered through his earpiece, her voice crackling softly. "You're officially somewhere you're not supposed to be." Marcus smirked, adjusting the small camera strapped to his chest. "That's kind of my brand." "Your brand is getting arrested for stupid reasons." "Correction," he said, easing open the final security door. "Interesting reasons." The door clicked shut behind him, and just like that, he was inside. The air was colder here, not freezing, but unnaturally cool, like the temperature had been preserved along with whatever secrets this place held. The lights overhead flickered faintly, not broken, just hesitant. Marcus took a slow step forward. The room was enormous, cathedral-like, but instead of paintings or sculptures from Earth's history, the space was filled with objects that didn't quite belong. Jagged metallic structures, smooth, geometric shapes that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. A sphere suspended midair, rotating without any visible mechanism. Marcus let out a low whistle. "Okay," he murmured. "This is way cooler than they made it sound." "Focus," Lena said. "You're there for one thing, the statue. Get your footage and leave." Marcus turned, and then he saw it. At the far end of the chamber, elevated slightly on a circular platform, stood the statue. Even from a distance, it didn't look like anything human. It was tall, at least 3 meters, and impossibly slender. Its limbs were elongated, almost elegant, but wrong in their proportions. Its torso was narrow, tapering into something that might have been hips, though the anatomy didn't match any species Marcus knew. And its surface. Marcus took a step closer. Wasn't stone. It looked like obsidian at first glance, but as he approached, he realized it wasn't reflective at all. Light didn't bounce off it. It sank in, as if the material absorbed brightness itself, like staring into a control void. "Marcus," Lena said, quieter now, "you seeing this thing?" "Oh, I'm seeing it," he replied, his voice dropping unconsciously. "I just don't think it's the statue." "Don't start. I'm serious. Look at the way it's..." He stopped. The face, if you could call it that. It had no mouth, no nose, just a smooth, curved surface interrupted by faint, symmetrical grooves where eyes should have been. They weren't carved. They looked closed. Marcus felt a strange chill crawl up his spine. "People said it was found under Antarctic ice, right?" he said. "Yeah, buried deep. No signs of tools, no erosion. It just existed there," Lena replied. "Why?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. He circled the platform slowly, camera recording everything. "It doesn't look old," he said finally. "That's because it's preserved." "No," Marcus said, shaking his head. "I mean, it doesn't look like it aged. It looks like it's been waiting." Silence filled the line for a moment. "Okay," Lena said carefully. "That's exactly the kind of sentence that gets people possessed in horror movies. So maybe stop." Marcus chuckled, though it came out a little strained. "Relax. It's just an object." But even as he said it, he didn't fully believe it. There was something about the statue that felt aware, not alive, but not entirely inert either, like a pause moment. Marcus stepped onto the platform. Nothing happened. He exhaled slowly. "See? Totally safe." Famous last words. He moved closer. Now he was right in front of it, close enough to see subtle details. Fine lines etched into its surface, not decorative, but precise. Mathematical. Almost like circuitry, except they didn't glow or connect to anything obvious. His reflection didn't appear on it. At all. "Okay," he said, raising the camera slightly. "This is it. The legendary alien statue." "Please don't say alien out loud," Lena muttered. "What? You prefer mysterious non-terrestrial humanoid artifact of unknown origin?" "Yes, much less cursed." Marcus grinned. Then his expression shifted. "Hey," he said, leaning slightly closer. "You ever notice something? I'm going to regret asking, but what?" "It kind of looks like it's waiting for something specific." Lena sighed. "Marcus. Like a trigger?" "Marcus. Like a ritual?" "Marcus, no." He smirked. "Oh, come on. Don't tell me you're not even a little curious." "I am curious," she said. "I'm also not stupid." Marcus laughed. "All right, fine. No rituals." He lowered the camera, paused, then, slowly, a mischievous grin spread across his face. "But what if it's something simple? Marcus, what if it's like those old stories? You know, break the spell with a kiss?" "Marcus, I swear." "It would make sense," he continued, half joking, half intrigued. "Ancient civilization leaves behind a dormant entity, waiting for contact. Maybe it responds to not kiss, the alien, statue." Marcus hesitated. For a second, just one. Then he shrugged. "It's just a joke." He leaned in. The surface looked perfectly smooth up close. Flawless. Not a single imperfection. Cold air brushed his face. And then he kissed it. The moment his lips touched the surface, something shifted. Not physically, but fundamentally. The air pressure dropped instantly, like the room had been depressurized. Marcus felt his ears pop, his chest tighten. The lights above flickered violently. "What did you just do?" Lena shouted. Marcus stumbled back, his heart slamming against his ribs. Nothing, I just..." The ground vibrated. A low hum filled the space, not coming from the walls or ceiling, but from everywhere at once, including inside his skull. The statue moved. Marcus froze. The grooves on its face began to glow faintly. Then they opened, not like stone cracking, like eyelids lifting, revealing two brilliant, otherworldly lights beneath. Marcus couldn't breathe. "Lena," he whispered, "I'm here. What's happening?" "It's..." The statue's head tilted. Slow, deliberate, alive. Marcus staggered backward, nearly falling off the platform. The hum intensified, rising into a deep, resonant tone that made his bones vibrate. Then, the voice. It wasn't loud, but it was absolute, layered, harmonized, ancient. "You have completed the activation ritual." Marcus's mind went blank. What? No, I didn't. I just..." The glowing eyes fixed on him. "You do not comprehend your action." The room seemed to darken around the being, as if reality itself was bending away from it. Marcus's pulse thundered in his ears. "Then explain it," he said, panic creeping into his voice. A pause, measured, judging, and then you have awakened what was meant to remain dormant. Marcus felt his stomach drop. "What are you?" The being's gaze did not waver, but something in its tone shifted, from observation to certainty. "To answer that," it said, "is irrelevant." Another pause. Marcus didn't remember deciding to run. His body chose for him. 1 second he was staring into those impossible, glowing eyes, ancient, calm, certain. And the next he was stumbling backward off the platform, nearly tripping over his own feet as adrenaline surged through his veins. "Marcus, talk to me." Lena's voice cracked in his ear. "It's alive!" he shouted, panic tearing through his voice. "It's not a statue, it's..." The word caught in his throat, because no word fit. Behind him, the hum deepened. It wasn't just sound anymore, it was pressure, a vibration that wrapped around his ribs, pressed against his skull, and made his thoughts feel slower, like something was interfering. Marcus sprinted across the chamber, past the other artifacts, the floating sphere now spinning erratically, the geometric shapes trembling as if reacting to the same unseen signal. The exit door loomed ahead. Come on, come on." He slammed his hand against the panel. Nothing. No, no, no. He hit it again. Still nothing. A dull red light blinked above the frame. "Locked." "Marcus." Lena's voice dropped to a whisper. "Turn around." He didn't want to. Every instinct screamed not to. But he did. The being stood at the center of the room. Except it hadn't walked there. Marcus would have seen it move. It had simply changed position, like reality had skipped a frame. His breath hitched. Okay, he muttered to himself. Okay, this is fine. This is just some kind of projection, right? Advanced tech, holograms, government stuff. You attempt to rationalize. The voice came from everywhere again, but this time it was closer. Marcus flinched. I attempt to not die, he shot back. Big difference. The being tilted its head slightly, observing him with unsettling patience. You are experiencing fear. Yeah, Marcus snapped. That tends to happen when statues start talking and threatening extinction. We have not threatened, it said calmly. Marcus let out a hollow laugh. You literally said I doom my species. A pause. Then, that is not a threat. It is a consequence. Marcus's mouth went dry. The being moved again. No footsteps. No motion. Just closer. Now it stood halfway between him and the platform. Marcus pressed himself against the locked door, as if sheer force could push him through it. Stay back, he said, though he knew how useless it sounded. You misunderstand the situation, the being replied. Oh, I understand plenty, Marcus said, his voice rising. I broke into a restricted area. Kissed something I shouldn't have, and now I'm about to be vaporized by an alien artifact. You are not the subject of termination. Marcus blinked. I'm not. No. Relief flickered, then died instantly. Your species is. Silence swallowed the room. Marcus stared at it, his thoughts scrambling. That doesn't make it better. The being studied him for a long moment. Then, you initiated contact. Marcus shook his head rapidly. No, I made contact. There's a difference. One's curiosity, the other's, whatever this is. You performed the activation ritual. It was a kiss, Marcus shouted. That's not a ritual. To your understanding, the being said. It is not. Marcus opened his mouth, then stopped, because something in the way it said that didn't sound dismissive. It sounded factual, like a scientist correcting a child. What does that mean? He asked, quieter now. The being's glowing eyes dimmed slightly as if shifting modes. Our kind was placed in stasis across this world, it explained. We were designed to remain dormant until a native intelligence achieved sufficient advancement. Marcus swallowed. Advancement for what? The answer came without hesitation. For evaluation. The word landed like a stone in his chest. Evaluation, he repeated. You mean like a test? Yes. Marcus let out a shaky breath. Okay, that's not great, but it's not necessarily apocalyptic either. We take tests all the time. You misunderstand the stakes. Marcus's voice faltered, which are, the being's gaze sharpened, your continued existence. Marcus felt the world tilt. That's not a test, he whispered. That's a death sentence. It is a determination. Same difference. The hum intensified again, but this time it wasn't just in the room. It was beyond it. Marcus felt it through the floor, through the walls, through his bones. A deep planetary vibration. He froze. What was that? The being turned its head slightly, as if listening to something far away. Signal transmitted. It said. Marcus's stomach dropped. Signal? Activation signal. The being clarified. Your action has been registered. Registered where? The being looked back at him. Everywhere. The building shook. Dust fell from the ceiling in fine, drifting particles. Marcus staggered, grabbing the wall for support. From somewhere outside, a distant, thunderous sound echoed, low, immense, like something vast shifting beneath layers of earth and ocean. His pulse spiked. Tell me that's not what I think it is. The being said nothing, which was answer enough. Marcus's voice trembled. How many of you are there? A pause, not because the being needed to think, but because the answer carried weight. Your world contains multiple dormant units, it said, distributed across regions, hidden beneath geological formations, integrated into structures your species does not fully understand. Marcus's mind raced. Ancient ruins, unexplained monuments, myths. How many? He pressed. The being's glowing eyes locked onto him. Enough. The word hit harder than any number could have. Marcus slid down against the door, his legs giving out. "This isn't happening," he muttered. "This isn't real. This is some kind of hallucination, or," you continue to deny, "because the alternative is insane." Marcus snapped. "You're telling me I just triggered a global alien awakening event because I made a stupid joke?" "Yes." The simplicity of the answer crushed him. Marcus buried his face in his hands for a second. Then, "Okay," he said, forcing himself to breathe. "Okay, think. There has to be a way to undo this." He looked up. "Can I deactivate you?" "No." "Reverse the signal?" "No." "Shut you down somehow?" "No." Marcus's voice cracked. "Then what am I supposed to do?" The being stepped closer again. Now it stood directly in front of him, towering, immovable. "You will observe," it said. Marcus stared up at it. "Observe what?" The glowing eyes brightened slightly. "The consequences." Outside, something roared. Not mechanical, not natural. Something ancient. Marcus felt it in his chest, felt it in the ground, felt it in the sky itself. And in that moment, he understood. This wasn't contained. This wasn't local. This wasn't fixable. Whatever he had awakened was no longer just his problem. It was everyone's. And it had only just begun. The world didn't end all at once. It unraveled. At first, it was just noise, confused reports, glitches, viral clips dismissed as hoaxes, a live stream from the Sahara showing a black structure rising from beneath the sand, a fishing vessel off the Pacific capturing something massive breaking the ocean surface, smooth, impossibly symmetrical, security footage from a subway in Tokyo where a sealed wall opened, and behind it, something waiting. Within an hour, every major network was broadcasting the same thing. Unknown phenomena detected worldwide. Within 2, panic. Marcus sat in a reinforced observation room, hands cuffed, not because he resisted, but because no one trusted him not to make things worse. He didn't blame them. A thick glass wall separated him from a group of officials, military, scientific, political, all speaking in rapid, overlapping bursts. Synchronized activation. No known energy source. They're appearing in population centers. We don't know if they're hostile. Marcus barely heard them. His eyes were locked on the main screen. Times Square. Crowded. Chaotic. Sirens blaring. People shouting. Phones raised. And in the center of it all, one of them, it stood motionless, towering over everything. Its dark surface swallowing the flashing lights of emergency vehicles. Just like the one in the museum. No, exactly like it. "They're identical," Marcus whispered. Behind him, the being from the museum stood silently. It hadn't been restrained. No one had even tried. Marcus swallowed. "Are they all like you?" "Yes." On the screen, soldiers formed a perimeter around the entity. Weapons raised. Hands shaking. "Don't shoot," someone barked over feed. "We don't know what it'll do." A tense moment stretched. Then, the being in Times Square moved. Not fast, not aggressive, just deliberate, its head tilted slightly. And then it spoke. Every screen in the world flickered. Every device, phones, televisions, radios, even dead systems that hadn't powered on in years, came to life. And the voice, the same layered, impossible voice, filled them all. "Species of this world," it said. Marcus felt it in his chest. Not just heard. Felt. "You have reached the threshold of evaluation." Across the globe, people froze. Watched. Listened. Marcus leaned forward slightly, his pulse racing. "Evaluation," he murmured again. The being behind him responded. "Judgment phase has begun." Marcus turned sharply. "You didn't say it would be immediate." "It was not intended to be." Marcus frowned. "What does that mean?" But before the being could answer, the screen changed. Images began flashing. Not random. Curated. A child being pulled from rubble. A missile launching into the sky. Doctors working frantically in an operating room. A forest burning. A hand reaching out to help someone up. A hand striking someone down. Marcus felt his throat tighten. "What is this?" he whispered. "Assessment," the being said. They're watching us. They have always observed. It corrected. Now they measure. The images accelerated. History compressed into seconds. Wars, discoveries, art, atrocities. Humanity laid bare. Marcus felt something twist in his gut. It wasn't just what they were showing. It was how accurate it was. No bias, no narrative, just truth, raw and unfiltered. They see everything, he said. Yes. Marcus exhaled shakily. That's not evaluation. That's exposure. The being didn't respond. On the screen, the Times Square entity raised one elongated arm. The motion was slow, but it carried weight, as if the world itself was paying attention. You are a species of contradiction, the voice continued. Marcus clenched his fists, capable of creation and destruction in equal measure. Another flood of images, brilliant inventions, horrific weapons, moments of compassion, moments of cruelty. You have advanced rapidly, the voice said, but without equilibrium. Marcus shook his head slightly. We're not supposed to be perfect, he muttered. The being behind him spoke. That is not the expectation. Then what is? No answer. Outside the facility, distant sirens wailed. Helicopters thundered overhead. The world was holding itself together. But barely. Marcus looked back at the screen. What happens if we fail? He asked quietly. This time, the being answered immediately. Your species will be erased. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. There was again no drama, no malice, just fact. He let out a bitter laugh. You keep saying it like it's routine. It is. Marcus opened his eyes, staring at the screen again. How many species have you judged? The being paused. Then, many. And how many pass? Another pause. Longer this time. Marcus's chest tightened. How many? He pressed. The answer came, cold and precise. Few. Marcus leaned back in his chair, the weight of that word crushing him. Few. Not none, but not enough. On the screen, the entity in Times Square lowered its arm. The images stopped. The voice shifted. Evaluation ongoing, it said. You will not interfere. Military commanders shouted orders. We can't just stand down. We need contingency plans. This is a global threat. Marcus barely heard them. His mind was racing. They said, you will not interfere, he said suddenly. The being looked at him. They did. Marcus leaned forward, urgency building. That means interference is possible. It means it is forbidden. Not impossible. Marcus shot back. The being studied him, silent, calculating. Marcus stood up abruptly, the cuffs clinking against the table. If this is a test, then tests have variables. They have inputs. They have... You are attempting to alter the outcome. Yes. Marcus snapped. Because the default outcome is extinction. The room behind the glass went quiet. All eyes turned to him. The being stepped closer. You believe you can influence judgment. I don't know, Marcus admitted. But doing nothing guarantees we fail. Silence stretched between them. For the first time, the being hesitated. You are the initiating variable, it said slowly. Marcus blinked. The what? You triggered activation prematurely, it continued. That deviation has already altered the process. Marcus's pulse quickened, so it's not a fixed outcome. No. Hope flickered. Small, fragile, but real. Marcus swallowed. Then there's a chance. The being's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. Probability remains low. Marcus let out a breath. Low is not zero. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then quietly, almost imperceptibly, the being said, correct. Marcus looked back at the screen. At humanity. Messy. Flawed. Terrifying. Beautiful. Then we fight for it, he said. Not with weapons. Not with force. But with something far more uncertain. The hope that, somehow, humanity could prove it deserved to survive. Even if the universe had already made up its mind. The seventh day arrived without ceremony. No sunrise felt different. No sky changed color. No warning echoed across the planet. And somehow, That made it worse. Marcus hadn't slept. Not really. For nearly a week, the world had existed in a suspended state. No attacks, no invasions, no destruction. Just the constant presence of the beings. Watching, measuring, waiting. Humanity had tried everything. Global broadcasts showcasing art, science, compassion. Emergency treaties signed overnight. Wars paused, some out of fear, others out of something that almost resembled hope. Marcus had watched it all from the same reinforced room. Still under guard. Still under blame. Still, the reason it had all started. You should eat something, Lena's voice said softly through his earpiece. Marcus stared at the screen in front of him. I don't think humanity's fate is going to hinge on whether I have a sandwich. You don't know that, she said, trying badly to sound light. He almost smiled. Almost. Behind him, the being stood in its usual place. Silent, unmoving, but not inactive. Marcus had learned that much. It didn't sleep. It didn't rest. It simply existed, waiting for something only it understood. Marcus exhaled slowly. Today's the day, right? He asked. Yes, the being replied. No hesitation. No emotion. Just certainty. Marcus nodded faintly. Do they already know the outcome? Yes. Marcus swallowed. Then why wait? A pause. Then, because you do not. Marcus let out a quiet, humorless laugh. Great. Suspense before extinction. The room lights flickered, not violently like before. Just subtly, Marcus froze. That's new. The being lifted its head slightly. Transmission beginning. Across the room. Every screen came to life at once. Around the world, the same thing happened. Cities fell silent. People stopped moving. Not because they were forced to, but because something deep inside them knew. This was it. Marcus leaned forward. On the main screen, darkness. Then, light. Not from a single location, but from everywhere. Every awakened entity across the planet began to glow. Softly at first, then brighter, until the world itself seemed threaded with lines of pale, otherworldly illumination. They're connecting, Marcus whispered. Yes, the being said. Unified Judgment Protocol. Marcus's pulse hammered in his ears. On the screen, the figure in Times Square appeared again. But it wasn't just one anymore. Dozens, hundreds, all standing still, all glowing, all synchronized. Then the voice came, stronger than before, deeper, not just heard, felt, evaluation complete. Marcus's chest tightened. He didn't breathe. No one did. You are a species of contradiction. The words echoed across the globe, the same phrase as before, but heavier now, final, capable of creation and destruction in equal measure. Images returned, but slower this time, more deliberate. A scientist discovering a cure, a city reduced to rubble, a child laughing, a battlefield silent with loss. Marcus clenched his fists. Yeah, he whispered, that's us. You are young, the voice continued. Your development is incomplete. Marcus leaned forward slightly. Hope flickered. Small, dangerous. You are chaotic, unstable. The hope wavered. But Marcus's breath caught. Across the world, millions leaned close to the screens, listening, praying. But the voice paused, not for effect, for accuracy. You are also adaptive. Marcus blinked. What? The being behind him didn't move, but something in its presence shifted. Your species demonstrates variability beyond projected parameters, the voice said. Deviation from predicted behavioral outcomes. Marcus's mind raced. They're talking about us changing, he said. Yes, the being replied. The images shifted again. Not just history now. The last 7 days. Nations cooperating. Strangers helping strangers. People choosing, consciously, to be better. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Marcus felt something rise in his chest. You are not what you were, the voice continued. Silence followed. Heavy, global. Then the words came. Clear, final, by the standards of the universe. Marcus closed his eyes. You are unworthy. The breath left his lungs. Around the world. Cries. Shouts. Silence. Hope collapsing in real time. Marcus's hands trembled. "That's it," he whispered. "That's the end." But the voice hadn't finished. However, Marcus's eyes snapped open. The word hit harder than anything before it. Hope didn't return. It exploded. Violent. Uncertain. Fragile. However, the voice repeated, "You're also unfinished." The being's light dimmed slightly. Not fading. Softening. The activation was premature. Marcus turned sharply to the being behind him. "You said that before." "Yes." "Because of me?" "Yes." Marcus let out a shaky breath. "So we weren't supposed to be judged yet." "Correct." On the screen, the glowing entities remained perfectly still. "The evaluation has determined that your species has not reached its final developmental state." The voice continued. Marcus leaned forward. Meaning judgment is deferred." The words took a second to register. Then, "Deferred." Marcus repeated. "Correct." His heart pounded. "You mean we're not?" "Not yet." Relief hit him like a wave. Sharp, overwhelming. He nearly laughed, nearly cried. Around the world, the same reaction unfolded. People collapsing, crying, holding each other. Alive, still alive. Marcus wiped a hand over his face. Okay, he said, trying to steady his voice. "Then what happens now?" The answer came slower this time. Measured, because this part mattered. "You have been granted time." Marcus nodded rapidly. Good. We can work with time. We can fix things. Time is limited." Marcus stopped. How limited? The glowing figures on the screen began to dim further, returning to stillness, returning to silence. The voice lowered. "When we awaken again," Marcus's chest tightened, "there will be no second reprieve." The lights across the world flickered. Then, one by one, the beings went still. Their glow vanished. Their forms hardened. Once more, statues, ancient, silent, dormant. The transmission ended. The screens went dark. The hum disappeared. For the first time in days, the world was quiet. Marcus sat there, unmoving, breathing, alive. Slowly, he turned to the being behind him. It stood frozen, exactly as it had been before, as if none of it had happened. Marcus stared at it for a long moment, then leaned back in his chair. "Okay," he said quietly. A beat. Then, with a weak, exhausted exhale, no more kissing statues. No one laughed. But somewhere, deep beneath the surface of the world, and far beyond it, something had already started counting. And this time, humanity knew it.